Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fact Hunter. Today's episode is about Kabbalah. Pico della Mirandola claims that the word Kabbalah comes from the Hebrew word for tradition. According to some, the ancient Kabbalah is a kind of mysterious Freemasonry among Jews, while others see it as a mystical explanation of the Bible, the art of finding hidden meaning through word analysis and the art of performing miracles by pronouncing certain words in a specific way. If the rabbis are to be believed, those who have mastered this secret knowledge are freed from human weaknesses, are provided with supernatural goods, have the gift of prophecy, the power to perform miracles, and can turn metals into gold, i.e., they know the secret of the philosopher's stone. Kabbalah also teaches that the world below the moon will last for 7,000 years and everything above the moon for 49,000 years. The Kabbalah has been preserved among Jews in the form of oral tradition. They believe that God gave this knowledge to Moses at the foot of Mount Sinai, that Solomon was a great expert in it, the author of the mysterious figure called the Tree of Jewish Kabbalah, and that no one can make talismans better than him. Testat even claims that Moses performed miracles with his staff because the great name of God was engraved on it. Waldrama, on the other hand, notes that the apostles similarly performed miracles using the name of Jesus, and followers of this system mention many saints whose names raised the dead. The Greek Kabbalah, which was supposedly created by Pythagoras and Plato, derived its power from various combinations of Greek letters and could perform miracles with the alphabet. The Great Kabbalah, or Kabbalah in the modern sense, is the art of communicating with elemental spirits using secret incantations. It explains the deepest mysteries by using numbers, changing the order of letters in words and studying their mutual relationships, from which Kabbalists have derived their rules. And this is how Kabbalists distinguish the spirits of the elements. Each of the four elements is inhabited by peculiar creatures, much more perfect than humans, but just as mortal. Air, the vast space between the earth and the sky, has hosts more noble than birds or insects. The immensity of the oceans has inhabitants other than dolphins and whales. The underworld was not only created for moles, and the element of fire, more noble than the others, would not have been created to be empty and unnecessary. So it is that salamanders live in fire, sylphs populate the airspace, gnomes the interior of the earth, and hydras and nymphs the depths of the water. These beings consist of the purest elements of the elements they inhabit. Adam, more perfect than all of them, was their natural king, but since he committed sin and became impure and common, he no longer had anything in common with these creatures and lost all power over them. However, there is some consolation in the fact that nature has found a way to regain its lost power, to be able to rule the salamanders again and have them at its beck and call. By focusing the sun's heat with a concave mirror in a glass dome. Solar dust is created there, which cleans itself naturally. If swallowed, it can unleash the fire within us and turn us into a kind of fiery matter. From that moment on, the inhabitants of the sphere of fire submit to us, treating us as kindred spirits and giving us all the respect due to the Creator's vicegerent. Similarly, to rule sylphs, gnomes or nymphs, the glass ball must be filled with air, earth or water, then tightly closed and exposed to the sun for 1 month. Each of the individual elements of matter purified in this way becomes a magnet attracting the right beings. By taking the prepared potion every day for several months, you will be able to see a flying community of sylphs, crowds of nymphs flowing to the shore, gnomes, guardians of mines and underground treasures presenting their riches. There is no risk in communing with them. You will easily see that they are honest, wise and pious. Souls are mortal and have no hope of joining the supreme being they know and worship. They live a very long time and only die after many centuries. But what are hundreds of years compared to eternity? So they complain about their fate, but this can be remedied. Just as man participates in the divine through his relationship with God, so the sylphs, gnomes, nymphs and salamanders become participants in immortality by allying themselves with man. I should mention here that I am constantly quoting the views of learned Kabbalists. And so the soul, nymphs or sylphs become immortal. And so the soul, nymphs or sylphs become immortal when they marry a sage. A gnome or salamander ceases to be mortal when they marry the daughter of a human. It can be concluded from this that these beings willingly bond with us when we summon them. Kabbalah scholars claim that the ancient goddesses and nymphs who took men as their husbands, the incubi and succubi demons of barbarian times, or the fairies who appeared in the moonlight in the Middle Ages were simply sylphs, salamanders and water spirits. Meanwhile, gnomes would rather die than become mortal and risk sharing the sad fate of demons. The devil puts such thoughts in their heads, as he sees no opportunity, as the Kabbalists claim, to prevent these poor creatures from achieving immortality through contact with humans. Kabbalists must renounce all relations with the human race if they do not want to offend the sylphs and nymphs with whom they want to associate. And since the number of true Kabbalists is small, nymphs and sylphs sometimes resort to various, not always very delicate, tricks to keep them around. A young widower from Bavaria was in deep despair after his wife's death. One of the sylphids took the form of a deceased woman and appeared to the grieving man, declaring that God had resurrected her to comfort him in his grief. They lived together for many years, but the young man was not wise enough to keep the sylph. One day, she disappeared, leaving him only a few of her skirts and the regret of not having listened to her good advice. Many early heretics mixed elements of Jewish Kabbalah with Christian ideas. They worshipped 4 types of creatures that were intermediate between God and man: salamanders, sylphs, water spirits, and gnomes. The Haldan people were the first to invent these creatures. They claimed that they were the souls of the dead who wanted to appear on Earth and had taken on a physical form on the moon. Oriental Kabbalah is also the art of communicating with geniuses, who are summoned with barbaric incantations. Even though the different types of Kabbalah differ in details, they are based on similar principles. There are many stories about Kabbalah. Homer, Virgil, and Orpheus are said to have been learned Kabbalists. The rabbis define Kabbalah as follows: the art that teaches us to contemplate heavenly things and commune with spirits enjoying eternal happiness, allowing us to learn about the characteristics and attributes of the divine, the organization and functions of angels, the number of their spheres, the properties of celestial bodies, the nature of the elements, the properties of plants and stones, spiritual affinities, animal instincts, and the innermost thoughts of human beings. According to the rabbis, 50 paths, called the 50 gates of reason, led to the greatest mysteries. God opened 49 of them to Moses, who enclosed the entire system, all the knowledge that God had given him, in the 5 books of the Torah. It is there in literal form or in allegories, in meanings and arithmetical combinations of letters, in the geometrical shape of signs, in harmonic consonances of sounds. Those who deal with the Kabbalah are working on the translation of this cipher. From this brief description, it is clear that if 50 gates lead to truth, then there are probably infinitely many that lead to error. Many Christian sages were involved in the Kabbalah, wanting to gain recognition for it as a serious field of study. The famous Pico della Mirandola wrote an entire book about its importance. In it, he argued with great seriousness that whoever learns about the properties of the number 10 and the nature of the first spherical number, namely 5, will possess the secret of the 50 gates of reason, celebrated every 50 years at the great Jewish festivals, the 1000th generation of the Apocalypse and the rule forever and ever, as mentioned in the Gospel. He added that he had found in it the whole doctrine of Moses, the whole Christian religion, the whole mystery of the Trinity and redemption, the whole hierarchy of angels, the whole fall of demons, the whole hell, and so on. These statements make up the final 72 of the 9,000 Theses, which he defended to general admiration in Rome at the age of 24.